is the most honest teacher you will ever face. It does not lie to you. It does not flatter you. It does not let you hide. Pain strips away illusions and forces you to confront the truth about who you are and what you are willing to endure. The dark reality is that everyone suffers, but not everyone transforms. Some let pain break them, while others turn pain into power, and that difference decides who rises and who collapses. You cannot live without pain. Life will hurt you whether you fight or not. It will hit you with betrayal, with failure, with rejection, with loss. It will test you with obstacles, with loneliness, with struggle. But here is what nobody tells you. Pain itself is not the enemy. Pain is neutral. Pain is raw energy. What matters is what you do with it. If you let it crush you, pain becomes your prison. If you harness it, pain becomes your fuel. The choice is always yours. Most people run from pain. They medicate it, numb it, distract themselves from it. They hide in comfort, hoping to avoid it altogether. But comfort does not erase pain. It only delays it. And the longer you delay, the heavier it becomes. Pain buried alive grows into regret, and regret is permanent suffering. That is why avoidance never works. The pain you refuse to face today will own you tomorrow. The ones who rise understand this truth. Pain is power, waiting to be claimed. They do not run from it. They lean into it. They use rejection as fuel to work harder. They use heartbreak as fuel to grow stronger. They use failure as fuel to sharpen their skills. They refuse to waste suffering. Every wound becomes a weapon. Every scar becomes proof of survival. Every struggle becomes the foundation for strength. Pain is not the end. It is the beginning of transformation. Think about the strongest people you know. The ones who walk with confidence. The ones who command respect. The ones who never seem to bend under pressure. They were not born like that. They were forged in pain. Somewhere along the line, life broke them, tested them, stripped them down, but instead of staying broken, they rebuilt themselves from the wreckage. And in that rebuilding, they discovered a version of themselves far stronger than the one that existed before. Pain gives you two options: surrender or transform. When you surrender, you let pain define you. You accept defeat. You let bitterness rot you from the inside. But when you transform, you redefine pain itself. You turn what was meant to destroy you into the very thing that builds you. You turn weakness into strength, loss into drive, wounds into wisdom. That is the alchemy of champions, the ability to turn pain. But make no mistake, this process is not easy. It hurts. Transformation requires that you sit inside the fire instead of running from it. It requires you to face your failures without excuses. It requires you to endure loneliness without crumbling. It requires you to stand back up every single time you fall, even when everything in you screams to stay down. That is why so few people ever turn pain into power, because it demands everything from you. But for those who endure, it gives back more than they could ever imagine. Here is your mental slap. The pain you are experiencing right now is not meaningless. It is either the weight that will bury you, or the pressure that will forge you. That decision belongs to you. Stop asking, why me? And start asking, how can I use this? Stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as potential. Every ounce of suffering can be converted into strength. If you refuse to waste it, you cannot erase pain, but you can weaponize it. And once you do, nothing can stop you, because the person who has learned to turn pain into power is the person who is unbreakable. Pain will visit you whether you ask for it or not. It shows up in the rejection letter, in the broken relationship, in the lost opportunity, in the moment you fall flat on your face when you thought you were ready to win. You cannot control when pain comes, but you can control how you respond. That choice is everything, because pain can either become the chain that locks you down or the fire that forges you into something greater. The truth nobody wants to admit is that pain never leaves you the same. It either makes you weaker or it makes you stronger, but it never leaves you unchanged. That is why pain is dangerous for those who hide from it. When you refuse to face it, you allow it to turn into bitterness, into fear, into weakness that eats away at you slowly. But when you face it head on, when you stare it in the eyes and refuse to let it break you, pain transforms into power. It becomes your drive, your hunger, your edge. Look at history. Every legend, every leader, every champion has a story rooted in pain. They were abandoned, doubted, laughed at, underestimated, or crushed by failure. But instead of staying in that place, they used it. They turned betrayal into motivation. They turned failure into resilience. They turned rejection into fuel. Their power was not born in moments of ease. It was carved out of suffering. That is why their strength endures, because it is built on scars, not illusions. But here's the brutal reality. Most people waste their pain. They cry over it. They complain about it. They let it define them. They build their identity around being broken instead of being rebuilt. They wear their wounds as excuses instead of using them as weapons. And because of that, their pain destroys them instead of empowering them. Pain is not the problem. It is what you decide to do with it that matters. Every time pain strikes, you are standing at a crossroads. One path leads to collapse. The other leads to growth. If you collapse, pain owns you. It dictates your actions. It shapes your mindset. It chains you to weakness. But if you grow, you own pain. You strip it of its power and use it for yourself. You become stronger, hungrier, sharper. The same pain that was meant to break you becomes the very thing that lifts you. Turning pain into power requires a shift in perspective. You cannot keep asking, "Why me?" because that question chains you to victimhood. You must start asking, "What now?" because that question turns you into a fighter. Pain is not a signal to stop. It is a signal to rise. Every ache, every scar, every failure is a message telling you that you are in the process of becoming something more. If you choose to see it that way, pain will never defeat you. Here is your mental slap. Your greatest strength is hiding inside your greatest suffering. The moments that hurt you most are the same moments that can build you most. The difference is in whether you let them crush you or create you. Stop wasting your pain. Stop treating it as a curse. Start seeing it as your weapon. The world respects the ones who endured pain and turned it into power. Nobody remembers those who allowed it to make them quit. Pain is not your weakness. Pain is your raw material. It is the fuel waiting to be ignited. And when you finally decide to use it, when you stop running and start harnessing it, you will find that pain was never your enemy. It was your greatest ally. Pain is the one thing you cannot avoid, but it is also the one thing that can transform you into something unstoppable. If you choose to use it, think about every time you have been knocked down, every time you have been betrayed, every time you have been told you were not good enough. In those moments, pain was handing you. The question is, did you take it or did you let it slip through your fingers? The raw truth is that pain is not given to you to destroy you. It is given to test you, to strip away weakness, to reveal what you are truly capable of. But most people fail the test because they are too busy running. They drown themselves in distractions. They hide inside comfort. They cling to excuses. They choose to numb pain instead of transforming it. And because of that, they stay the same, stuck in cycles of weakness, while their pain slowly eats them alive. Winners think differently. They do not see pain as something to avoid. They see it as something to harvest. They take every failure and turn it into knowledge. They take every rejection and turn it into hunger. They take every loss and turn it into fuel. They squeeze every ounce of power from their pain until nothing is wasted. That is why they rise above others, because they refuse to let their suffering go unused. Pain sharpens you in ways comfort never can. Comfort makes you soft, but pain makes you hard. Comfort keeps you stagnant, but pain forces you to grow. Comfort lulls you to sleep, but pain wakes you up. That is why those who choose comfort over pain always remain average, while those who embrace pain rise to greatness. Pain is the price of evolution, and those who pay it become unbreakable. The process is brutal. Pain will demand sacrifices from you that you never thought you could get. It will strip away people who do not belong in your life. It will rip apart illusions you were holding on to. It will test you again and again, until you are convinced you cannot go any further. But if you push through, if you endure, you will discover a version of yourself that you never knew existed. That version is stronger, sharper, and hungrier than the one that came before. That is the gift pain gives you, but only if you accept it. Here is the mental slap. Pain is not optional, but weakness is. You will hurt no matter what. But whether that hurt builds you or breaks you is your decision. If you run from pain, it will chase you forever in the form of regret. If you face pain, it will transform you into someone who cannot be broken. Regret is permanent suffering. Pain faced head-on is temporary suffering that leads to power. Choose wisely, because your future depends on it. So take your pain and own it. Use it as a weapon. Let it fuel your discipline, your ambition, your fire. Let every scar remind you of what you survived. Let every wound remind you of the strength you gained. Stop letting pain be the reason you quit. Start letting it be the reason you rise. Because once you learn how to turn pain into power, you become unstoppable. Subscribe for more.